Alright, so today's the day that I'm actually going to start a new game with the new party of Last Dream, World Unknown. And we get 4 characters, and there are a number of different classes. And so before kind of choosing my party, I've already decided what party I'm going to go with, but I just want to talk about all of the different classes. There are 8. And I guess there's actually a fair amount of text on here that kind of describes them all. But first we have the Knight. This is basically, your single target damage dealer, uses heavy weapons and armor, kind of the tank of the class or whatever, is good at killing bosses, that kind of stuff. We have the Monk, which is basically kind of the bare-fisted fighter. Also good at fighting. Doesn't use much in the way of weapons and armor, but instead kind of just has natural abilities. He can hit multiple times, which is one of the things that makes him kind of the most powerful damage dealer, and kind of less expensive to work with, but doesn't have quite as much defense since he's not wearing armor. And but also does have some special attacks that can target multiple enemies on the battlefield. There is the Thief, which is kind of the agility expert. He can use some weapons and armor, and so he's kind of decent in battle. But in this game, in Last Dream and in Last Dream World Unknown, throughout towns that you'll go and visit, you'll find chests that you can open up and take treasures from. And typically the way that the mechanic works is each time you open and steal something from a chest, your what they call the wanted level increases. And every time you open a chest, depending upon your wanted level, there's a small chance that the town guards will come and find you and fight you. And the more chests you open, the higher your wanted level becomes. A thief can basically bypass that, and so you can steal from all the chests without having to worry about the town guards. And it also, I think, has like a passive ability that your party just gets more gold during battle, and the thief can also steal items from enemies during battle. I have not used the thief before in this game, but I think I'm going to have him as part of my party this time around. The Hunter is an interesting class. It is not particularly a good fighter, but it can make the rest of your party a better fighter, because the Hunter can scan the enemies on the battlefield and basically learn things like their elemental weaknesses, and also make it more likely that the rest of your party will score critical hits against these enemies. And so kind of a trying to think like a helper kind of class, basically, in terms of battle. And Moa taming. So if you've played Final Fantasy, there's chocobos that you can ride around the overworld. In this game, they're called Moas, but it's the same kind of thing that basically kind of give you faster and easier travel across the overworld. The Hunter, unless you have a Hunter in your class, you can't tame Moas. You can't ride these chocobo-like things around. So that's another kind of benefit of the Hunter class, if you have one of those in your party. The Grey Mage, this would be like the Red Mage from Final Fantasy I, is kind of the jack of all trades, master of none. He can cast some white magic and black magic, and can also use various weapons and armor. And yeah, I've not actually used this character. It sounds like it's a character that's good all around and would probably be especially good at the beginning of the game, like if you're starting from kind of level 0, because he can do kind of a little bit of everything. But I have a feeling that in the late game, he won't be nearly as good as a fighter at fighting, or a white mage at casting white magic, or as a black mage is casting black magic. My personal opinion about RPG kind of games or whatever is I think it tends to be better to maximize players on one thing and kind of minimize everything else, and so have very unbalanced individual characters, and so I tend not to go with this type of character, because I don't think it usually pays off. But I do think, if you take a look at the 8 character classes in this game, they've done a lot of work to try to balance them out. White Mage, it's kind of what you'd expect. It's the healer that's playing a support role in the party. Can also cast spells against undead. Usual type of stuff like that. And the black mage is kind of the damage dealer, going after multiple enemies at once, has lots of black magic spells that can kind of like hit all the enemies in the battlefield. But yeah, just like the white mage, uses magic points, and so those are going to be limited, and this character also has very low defenses. The white mage kind of has low defenses. I think this one has very low defenses typically, and so you need to kind of guard this character. And finally, the engineer is an interesting class that basically, it's another one of the support kind of classes. It's kind of a middle of the road in terms of being able to just kind of like attack and in battle and different things. It doesn't have a lot of defense, but has a number of unique abilities in Last World. And it just occurred to me that it says page up and page down here. Can I go down somewhere over here? It looks like there might be more text that I could be bringing up on the screen that I didn't realize before, because it says 1 of 7 down there, but I'm not sure which button I need to press on my controller in order. There we go. So there's tunneling. So basically there'll be a variety of shortcuts in the world that are called tunnels, but you can only use them if you have the engineer. So basically they make it kind of easier to get around. Increase the effectiveness of items, consumable items, things like bombs that you can throw at enemies, or some potions. He can basically kind of like increase the output of, as well as making the whole party get more experience during battle. And then, yeah, it talks about kind of like stats and particular armor and weapons. And so, in case there's important things that I have forgotten about any of these character classes, let's go back through them quickly, and I just want to go through the text so that you guys can see it on the screen. Knight can attack from the front row. Something I haven't talked about is when you build out your party, there's front row, middle row, and back row. And those basically, the only effect is how often enemies are going to target your party. So you put someone in the front row if you want them targeted by enemies more often. Middle row is kind of middle, and back row when you're trying to protect your guys. And so the front row is going to get hit a lot, the middle row is going to get hit somewhat, and the back row is going to get hit not that much. And so something like a knight who has high defense and high hit points is the kind of guy that you want in the front row, since I didn't talk about that. Let's see, anything useful to talk about? Right, the monk can be immune to status effects, I guess, if you get this aligning chakras skill. I don't know how far into the game that particular thing might come. And let's see. Thief can wear, okay, pretty decent armor and weapons. And so that kind of coordinates well with his ability to steal gold, because it means you'll be able to buy some good things. Oh, right, and preemptive strikes, in addition to agility, so that the thief can, like, pick locks and steal from enemies. He also tends to have good preemption, which is good for running from battle and getting preemptive strikes when you actually start the battle, where you get hit the enemies first. Let's see, the hunter, the ability to scan, improve your party's damage output, and the MOAs, yeah, we talked about that. Right, Grey Mage can use just a subset of the white and black mage spells, right? We talked about that. White Mage can only use staffs and daggers, and only light armor. Right, the Grey Mage and the White Mage are the only people who can resurrect people outside of town due to their white magic spell capabilities. And right, same thing. Weak physical defense. Weak physical defense, but I think it just said he can be built to have very high magical defense, preventing him from enemy magics. That's useful. Right, and black magic, the Grey Mage and the Black Mage can use Warp, which basically lets you get out of dungeons without needing to use a consumable item, and then the Engineer, we already kind of flipped through the text here. So, those are the different character classes, and I believe what I plan to do is I'm going to start with a Thief this time around, which I haven't done before, and there's actually different costumes, like you can have them wear kind of different colors. And I think that's new in this version of Last Dream. I don't think that was something that was around before. But I think I will stick with the default for this guy anyway. And for my second character, I'm going to use a monk. But let's check out what his various costumes look like. Yeah, some of these are pretty good. I think... kind of like that one. And I kind of like that one. They're both good. I think let's do the blue hair. Great. And then finally, I like having a white mage and a black mage. I like using magic, and I like having all the spells available. And so our final two characters are going to be those two. And these colors aren't all that interesting. White is fine. Great. And finally, the black mage. Ooh! That's I like kind of like the extra dark shadowy look or whatever. So let's do that. Alright, so those are my characters. Next, game difficulty. So I talked about this very briefly, I think, in the previous video. But basically, it just affects how hard the monsters hit. I don't know what to expect exactly, and so we're gonna do normal. Encounter rate, this is nice because it lets you choose to grind or not have to deal with kind of random encounters all that often. I'm going to do standard. You can actually change these in the middle of the game, although I think possibly like it affects some achievements or something. But I'll choose standard for that. And then save ability, because I'm going to be let's playing. You can either not be able to save in certain locations, save at the designated locations, or save anywhere. I'm going to choose save anywhere, because it's better for let's playing. It means if it's time to finish up an episode and we're not near a save point, I can do so safely. View cutscenes, yes. There are a variety of cutscenes, and apparently flashbacks is my understanding. And so we will view those, because many of you have probably never seen the first one. And play the tutorial. For the most part, there is not anything important to do in the tutorial, but having played it through before, just because I wanted to read through it, like I just did this on my own when I was trying to set up the recording and try some things out with the game briefly with my old party from the original last stream. I did play through the tutorial, and one of the guys in the tutorial gives you money. And so we're going to say, play the tutorial. Watch the introductory cutscene. Yes, let's do this as well. And is this the thing I've seen before? Yeah. So I think I mentioned that in the first to last stream, like there was a story, and yeah, the story was not particularly interesting to me. But basically it starts out with this father who's with his kids on the beach and goes to get firewood and gets sucked into a vortex and taken to this whole other world and meets the other party members, and they have to go save the world or whatever. And at the end of that one, he gets like return to his family. And so this is just kind of that cutscene again. But of course, you said you were going to collect firewood, but you've only been gone a few minutes. Where's the wood? A few minutes? That's very strange. Boy, do I have quite a story to tell you two of the whole, previous last stream. But before the story, come give me a hug. But you don't have any firewood. Please, just a hug. Daddy, you're acting kind of strange. And now, all of a sudden, the world is ripped asunder. No, this can't be happening. Sir? I need to be with you. Sir, wake up. So apparently we're having a dream. A last dream, perhaps? To protect you against a world unknown. Alright, so we're like 5 minutes into the... less than that. 1 minute into the first cutscene, and we already have the game title showing up in the text of the game. Last dream, world unknown. Great. Sir, please wake up. Until I do, you will never be safe. It's alright, you're safe. And so Thief's journey continues. Gabriel has finally perished, yet the mysterious portal led Thief not back to Earth, but to a world unknown. I might have missed the opportunity to rename these characters. I might do that before the next episode if I can figure out how to do that. More strangely, Thief's companions, Monk, White Mage, and Black Mage, have been seized from their homeworld of Terra and arrived together with Thief. Their destinies are now inextricably linked. What will they discover on this new world? What force brought them here? Only courage may tell. You'll now play through a short tutorial. And so I will spare you guys most of the tutorial. But basically, just to give you a sense, and it's pretty in-depth, and so if you're new to the game and want to learn a bit more about it, this is definitely one way that you could learn about it. There is another way that you can learn a whole lot, so this is an example of a save point, so I can save my game, and let's see. Yeah, I was doing some testing and had save slots in 4 through 9, but let's just start saving in slot 1. That'll probably be my default slot moving forward. In addition to using the tutorial to learn about the game, and so you can see there's all kinds of folks over here that you can learn about different game menu options and different things. There's also like a 900-page strategy and mechanical guide that kind of like explains the math of how everything works and all the loot tables and all kinds of things. There's tons of spoilers in there, and so I wouldn't recommend reading all of it, also because it's just too long. But if you just want to read about some, basic game mechanics and learn about various stats, and in fact, if we go and we take a look at, what is this I want to look at? Skills, maybe? No, it is level up, maybe? Yeah, here we go. So the various stats, we have hit points, magic points, attack, defense, intelligence, which as you can imagine is kind of like magical power, magic defense, defense for magic damage, accuracy, how often you kind of like hit versus miss, critical, how often you deal extra damage, agility, which for the thief does some extra things, but for the most part is kind of like evasion and dodging, and preemption, which is basically, do you get to hit first or do the monsters get to hit first, and are you likely to be snuck up on by monsters or sneak up on them. It's kind of typical RPG game kind of stats. This is the guy, I think. Would you like information on the map submenu? No. Maybe it's this guy? Save submenu? No. Maybe it's this guy. I would tell you about the settings submenu if you hadn't already learned all about it. Instead, please accept this gift for your future journey. 1,000 gold! That's the reason I came back to the tutorial. It was just for that. But basically, there's all these people who tell you about different menus in the game and different things. Right. And there's even like some character-specific quests that I think these guys kind of like give you some, basic idea that exists in the game. But at this point, let's go ahead and begin the game. All right. And yeah, we woke up in bed. Come on now, we're all perfectly safe. Mrs. Rockwood, the 26th. We found you and your companions near the Tree of Life a few hours ago. My husband tried to wake you, but you were all out cold. Where are you? Oh, forgive my manners. You must be very confused. This is the town of Rockwood. You've never heard of Rockwood? You must have really hurt your head. I almost forgot to tell you, when we found you, there were some bandits salvaging your gear. My husband managed to chase them off before they took your equipment. I dearly hope you didn't lose anything precious. When you're feeling better, why don't you come downstairs? No need to rush, I'll see you down there. Alright, so here we are, started, and it sounds like, would you like to adjust your character's attributes? This is the only opportunity you will have to do so. I guess so. This is the part where I'm not sure like how front-loaded different things are going to be. So up in the top right it says AP, which I believe are like attribute points or ability points, 4 of 4801. And apparently I'm a level 60 ninja. So once again, this comes to the idea that we are kind of like starting as the sequel, and so you don't start with, characters starting from 0, you start with characters starting from what would be appropriate as kind of like averaged, having coming out of the previous game. I see, I understand now. Basically, it has created me a character. It has spent 4,797 of my ability points on these particular stats, but I can move left and right. And so, for example, if I want fewer hit points, if you look at my current status, it's 2208. I can subtract some of these out and have fewer hit points, and now I have ability points that I could spend on something else instead. And so basically it's given me kind of a default character, but allows me to kind of mix things up in terms of how I do this. So let's see, in the case of the thief, he has some pretty high preemption and agility, which is good. Doesn't have much intelligence, but that's fine because we don't need to cast spells with this guy. Yeah, I think rather than overthink it here at the beginning, I'm just going to kind of accept the different things that it's given me. Yeah, I think let's just go ahead and go with it. And so whatever the defaults are, I'm going to start with the defaults, and we'll go from there. But basically, you do have the ability to control your character's kind of starting abilities in that respect. And so if you wanted to make, for some reason, a white mage who had tons of attack power and was an overpowered fighter, but wasn't very good at anything else, you could choose to do that. An initial pool of SP is available to learn new skills. So there's skill points. And I guess we can go ahead and check that out on the menu as well. So skills. Do we start off with any? Yes. All right. So we start with a variety of skills. And then we could learn more skills as well. And I'm more familiar with the monk skills, for example. The monk has lots of passive skills. And there's all the possible skills. But basically, if we want to learn some, it says we have 250,000 SP. The skills, they are organized kind of in a tree, and so some skills will be prerequisites for other skills. And once again, since this is kind of like the sequel game, you start having already learned a bunch of skills, but there's a lot more that you can kind of like choose to purchase with your skill points. And there are things that you would only be able to learn once you're at a certain level. And so, for example, this one at the bottom says I need to be level 150 in order to learn Final Strike, and I'm not that high of a level yet. But then there are some here that are available to me to learn right now. And so let's read about them. There's a passive called Defensive Study, which basically defense, magic defense, and agility go up by 8 points. And Dragon Fists is a passive that gives me more accuracy. The monk, the black belt, basically the more accuracy he has, the more hits he can land in a single attacking round of combat. First Strike, fast normal action with subsequent actions striking first. Nirvana. Could I buy all of these? It doesn't look like they cost very much. And then this one requires accuracy up, it looks like. Press dash to view skill info. If I press this, does it talk about prerequisites over here? Oh, right, and warm up and cool down are something that's new in this game. So a warm up is a skill, let's say a skill has a warm up of 2. That means you can't use it in the first 2 rounds of combat. It needs to warm up before you can actually use it. And a cooldown basically means if you use a skill in 1 turn of combat, then if it has a cooldown of 1 turn, then you'd have to not use it in the next round of combat and wouldn't be able to use it until the round after that. And that's something that's kind of new in this version of the game. And required skills, Dragon Fists. Okay. Got it. And so Lightning Fists I can't learn until I've already learned Dragon Fists, but if I go ahead and purchase this one, we should see Lightning Fists below light up. Yeah. Alright. 7 random normal attacks. Always the first action. That sounds pretty awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and spend some on that. Defensive Study. I can imagine that being good. I don't know if it's the case that I could just kind of like buy everything that's available here. It looks like I almost can afford it. Let's see, do I want... Always the first action reduces odds of being targeted. That sounds pretty good. Nirvana. Alright, I like covert operations, it sounds like. And now I only have 25,000 left, and so I don't have enough to purchase Nirvana. Okay. This is probably kind of a bit overwhelming in terms of the skills and different things that are available. I'm going to choose to spend all of my skill points, I think right now. But I'm going to go through it more quickly rather than just kind of talking through everything. And so maybe you'll just see some fast-forward video of this section. Alright, I ended up lying a little bit because I actually didn't spend all of my skill points. It occurs to me that maybe I want to wait and get a sense of how a few things are going to play out before I decide what to spend them on. And so some of them are still available to me. And I don't think we have any level ups that we have to deal with, right? Right, because we've already dealt with kind of like all the ability points that I just chose as the defaults. Okay, so you seek to be like the unflinching mirror, facing hard pain and heroic joy with equal courage. Okay. Yeah, let's start looking around. Muscle relaxer. Okay, we found an item hidden in the chest. Typical kind of thing where you can just kind of like walk around and find items and pots and different things. There's also a fair amount of lore that's hidden in bookshelves in Last Dream. The Geography of Firma, Volume 1. Our blessed world of Firma is divided into 6 primary continents: North Aldrin, South Aldrin, Vir, Orphos, Holdra, and Ugbar. Vir is the central continent and home to Westonia, the world capital, where all the races coexist. The western continent, North and South Aldrin, were first explored by the elves and later settled by humans and goblins. The major cities in the North and South Aldrin are the mighty Rockwood, that's where we are now, militaristic Necht, and the mixed goblin-human city of Court. Alright. The remaining 3 continents are principally divided by race: the human continent of Orphos, the elven continent of Holdra, and the goblin continent of Ugbar. Alright, so that learns already a bit about the world. And I think if we go to maps, can we take a look at the map? Yeah. Alright, so here is Rockwood on... is it on North Aldrin, I think? Because I've zoomed out on this map once before. Yeah, so there's the various continents that were just being talked about. And so that's a map of the world, or this world anyway. I think there might be like others that we can get to at some point. And there's different kind of like zoom levels that you can do. And then you can also, once you learn the names of, once you've gone and visited different places, you can kind of like warp to different places on the map. Sorry, on kind of just the map screen to take a look at them and zoom in. Not that you can actually warp there with your characters or whatever. We're still wherever we just were. I can imagine that I might be able to find a few more things, just kind of like things like that, a huge potion, just by going and trying to look inside a few places inside the house. And so I'm going to spend some time doing that for a moment. I did not find any other items, but here is more about the world. The human continent of Orphos is comprised of the capital city Theopolis and the port city of North Bay. The elven continent of Holdra is comprised of the capital city of Valundra and the port city of Tizarin. The goblin nation of Ugbar is comprised of the capital city of Hogbar and the port city of Gremlar. Alright, if it contains the letter G, it's a goblin, it sounds like. The city-state of Svarta is the home of the dwarves and their only known site of civilization after their stronghold of Karanor was overrun on Aldrin. Interesting. The world capital, Westonia, at the heart of Vir, is home to all races. Fitting host for the Decadal World Council. Many islands have been charted by intrepid sailors, however, any records of land explorations have been lost. Alright, so I expect we will be exploring little islands and finding extra secrets and side quests and things. Most experts agree the floating fortress above Westonia is of ancient alien origin and the paramount wonder of the world. Okay, so there's a floating fortress above the central world continent. And I think I will finish things up shortly. Let's talk to this lady who woke up in bed. I'm glad you're finally feeling well enough to explore our house a bit. You'll find my husband in the kitchen. Right, Mrs. Rockwood, the 26th. Looks like there's some food on the table, but I can't quite get to it there. Ooh, found gold. Alright, that's great. There is the husband who we'll go talk to. The Rockwood family. Rockwood was founded by Abraham Rockwood as a sanctuary for refugees after the Great War that scarred Firma. Alright. Most notable refugee was Ahmed Khan, the future founder of the Mercenaries Guild. Alright. Ooh! 4 times Forgetful Ring. That seems potentially good. Let's go take a look at items. They are accessories, I believe, rings. Forgetful Ring. 1 gold. Oh, it doesn't look like... Looks like anybody can wear it, and it doesn't look like it does anything. So I guess these were some items maybe that we had, or that... I'm curious if I try to... Oh, I didn't even take a look at the equipment that we're starting out with. So there's my thief's equipment, for example. Here is the monk's equipment. Okay, and I can switch back and forth with my left and right bumpers. I'm playing with a controller, by the way. It's basically a controller that emulates an Xbox controller. Ascendant ring, expansion ring, augury ring. I can take a better look at all of this equipment off camera, and then before the next episode, if there's anything truly worth calling out, we can talk about it in more depth. But that's what my various characters are starting out with by default over here. Here's an example of chests that I can rob with impunity because I have a thief in my class, whereas otherwise I would be carrying a risk that town guards would come and find me if I stole things out of those chests. So that's a little bit of a bonus of choosing a party that has a thief in it. Got a laundry basket over here. Doesn't seem like I can talk to the sun and moon posters. As the clock turns, so do your thoughts to the unknown expanse between fated Firma and fair Earth. Alright, so we'd like to get home to Earth, as opposed to have been transported kind of magically to this particular place. But we're going to talk to this guy, and then that'll be where I end the first episode. So, what do you have to say? Mr. Rusty T. Rockwood the 26th. My distant relatives settled here ages ago. My family's continued presence is a testament to the stability Rockwood has enjoyed. You seem like a good person who could help preserve Rockwood's stability. Indeed, may your own family experience 26 generations of rich history. Thank you for the well wishes. Apologies for rambling on. You must be confused. Do you not remember anything before we found you? No? That's disappointing. You have the look of a strong warrior. Maybe it's presumptuous to say this, but the Mercenaries Guild could use someone like you. So it sounds like already we're being recruited. Ignatius, the leader of the guild, is a wise man who may be able to help you learn the truth about your past. Ooh, alright. He can be found in the Mercenaries Guild located deep underneath Rockwood. You'll find the entrance behind the inn. Alright, we'll have to remember that for next time. Entrance behind the inn. And yeah, I think that's where we will go ahead and stop things for today. I'm sure it's going to be a little bit overwhelming kind of right at the beginning, but eventually we'll kind of settle into a little bit more of this. So I'm going to go ahead and save, and I'll just go ahead and continue. I guess at the end of every episode I'll save to slot 1, and I might use some other save slots for some other things along the way. But there's our game save. I hope, as always, that you guys are having a great day, and I look forward to seeing you all again very soon, where we actually really get started playing Last Dream World Unknown. Bye-bye.